I'll tell you the number one thing that marks a Republican talking point is if it is utterly a case of projection. I say this with great experience. I am as guilty of it as any Republican I point the finger at. Let me just be clear right now. Every time I scream about Ukraine and I scream at the Russian citizens who did nothing, I'm thinking of myself from 15 years back, just doing nothing, choosing not to look hard at the facts because I suspected that we were in an unjust war. I understand projection. I get it, man. And by the way, the things I recommend doing, I stand by. But I will never recommend someone live or act the way I live or act. Because I've done it wrong too often to think it's someone that should be a role model. However, it reaches a level of delusion in Republicans that is just wild to me. It's in fact so wild that I think they must know. And if you want a great example of why I think they must know, here's a piece from Owen Morgan. This guy does something called Telltale Fireside Chats. He's an ex-Mormon. And when I was trying to get familiar with the religions of the world, I came across his channel. He left the... Oh, is he... No, excuse me. He's ex-Jehovah's Witness. I take that back. There's a lady I watch who's an ex-Mormon. I believe he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness. But nonetheless, he's branched out into politics as well. And he does this is towards the end of a great video he did. The link to the full video is in the description. But if you want a little sample of what he looks like, well, let's have a gander.
Fixed. I'm done. I'm throwing up my hands and I'm walking away. Weird, huh? Thought you were walking away. What happened? She is so full of it. Literally everything she says is a lie. Okay.
All right, so for context, he's doing a video about this conspiracy theory person. She's been around since Pizzagate. Hey, if we have any MAGA lurkers there, do you still do Pizzagate? Is that still a thing you're into? A lot of QAnon folks are just Pizzagate rebranded, so let me know by all means. But he's talking about a lady who used to have a respectable career in the news and then decided to go crazy for money. But look at this, and I'd rather show you his channel than her channel. I want to talk about what she says, but he's got good points too. And I'd really rather not give her any more views, even jeering views. But he's discussing a part of the video right now, which I want you to see. And it's the projection. And the question I have for you is she engaging in a bit of therapy? Is she making fun of her audience? Or does she literally mean what she says? Is she that delusional? Let's find out.
Keep listening.
We're going to see John Podesta and his brother arrested.
Never happened, by the way.
I would guess that announcement,
This video is from a couple years back.
without a doubt, will be made before the end of this year.
Never happened.
And all this stuff is going to be exposed, and we'll all be vindicated, and these rings will be totally broken up. The kids will be saved, and it'll be glorious.
The rings will be broken up, i.e. the human trafficking rings that supposedly exist in the basement of Comet Ping Pong and Pizza or whatever. The pizza parlor that Podesta was talking about in his emails that were leaked. Like, come on, dude. Are you ever going to come back to reality with the rest of us? Is this something...
The next part is where the real question comes. I just want to give you if you don't know what Pizzagate is, literally... some Democrats in emails that got stolen were talking about going and getting pizza at a pizza place, which, by the way, has no basement. That'll be important in a moment. Then bored conspiracy theorists, who I'm convinced couldn't have believed any of the things they said because they simply weren't true. They decided to make a bunch of words in there, code words. Pizza was code words for child diddling. And the basement of this pizza place is where they do it. Well, there is no basement to that pizza place, and that became a fact we all knew after someone believed the nonsense they said, went in there with the gun, and demanded to be taken to the basement. Can you imagine being the manager? Your life is already not great. You are the manager of a pizza place. I'm betting you don't drive a real nice car. I'm betting your mortgage situation isn't great, if you have one at all. If you have a home that is yours and you're not simply paying rent to somebody who gains the equity that you lose. And somebody bursts in with a gun because one of the people you served pizza to was in politics, and they had mentioned in an email that they wanted to go to your pizza place. Somebody bursts in with a gun, points it at you, and demands you take them to the basement. What basement? There is no basement. What do? You take them to the freezer? Say, I can open, how about I open this door? You take them to a closet? It's a mentally unstable person demanding at gunpoint that you take them to a room in your building which does not exist. That happened because of GOP nonsense. That happened because of conservative culture. That happened because we have 70 million plus people in this country which don't feel obligated to live in the real world. Fantasy only. Terrified of facts. Run away from any debate, as we see time and time and time again. Run away from any discussion of facts. Believe that people have their individual truths as opposed to objective truth. Bear all that in mind when we see this next part, because this is where I ask you, does this lady believe what she's saying? And my thought is that no, she doesn't. She understands that she is a con artist, and she is mocking her audience here. But you tell me what you think.
Ever expect? This is absolutely nuts, dude.
And it'll be glorious. What are they gonna do when they find out that they've been so brainwashed and fooled? I mean, and how humiliating for these people.
When she says these people, how humiliating for these people. You know who she's talking about? Us. She's talking about you. She's talking about.
And that's the question, though, isn't it? I know she would say, oh, I'm talking about the left, the loopy left. That's who's going to be humiliated. But is she? It's right on the nose. It's right on the nose. Isn't that what you'd be thinking if you were a Pizzagate lady who had a background in news? Even if you didn't like the facts, you were trained formally in how to find them, the traditional way, why it is that way, because we've dealt with so many con artists over the year that there's like an encyclopedia of how to tell when you're getting lied to. So she knows she's not following the traditional way. I think she's mocking her audience here. I think this is a private moment of catharsis where she's in her head. Obviously I can't prove this, but just I want to know what you think. I want to know what your suspicions are. I'll tell you mine. I think she is overwhelmed in this moment by how ridiculous it all is. And she can't help but just talk about it. In the same way that a lot of conservative men can't help but talk about homosexuality. It's because they're thinking about it a lot. She's thinking about, and by the way, Not trying to say anti-homosexual behavior is the fault of homosexuals and all that. It tends to happen. Can't leave a subject alone when it's weighing on you. And that's what I think she's doing here. Let's hear more from Owen Morgan. Bear in mind, Owen Morgan came from, calls it like it is, or calls it like I sees it based on the Bite model, what is essentially a religious cult. He's got some experience here.
About me. How humiliating for these people, for us, that we didn't believe it. And when it finally comes true, when it's finally revealed, oh, how humiliating for me.
Just think about the logistics, I guess, of what she's saying. Imagine that all the accusations, because remember, with the John Podesta thing there, she's still talking about Pizzagate. After that guy barged in with the gun and demanded to see the non-existent basement. So let's just assume she's true. She's found out to be totally correct. Do you really think that we should be embarrassed? Would she really think that we should be embarrassed? According to her theory, it's a conspiracy. According to her theory, that basement wasn't there because they had a contractor come in and board it up, or we just don't look at that fact, or, I don't know. But according to her theory, a lot of work was done to make it look like it's a conspiracy theory. So why would we feel ridiculous for that? However, there's plenty of reasons why you might think someone will feel foolish for having believed all that nonsense that she is spouting. Because in order to believe her, you have to disbelieve the vast majority of everybody else, telling you that's crazy. You have to believe that adrenochrome can somehow only be harvested from kids who are suffering. Never mind the fact that it's just oxygenated adrenaline. Never mind the fact that you can literally purchase it, I believe, without even a license. Never mind the fact that it would just be easier to accomplish what she's saying gets done without breaking the law. It's just, I think she is having a bit of therapy when she says lefties will be embarrassed. I think the reality is she knows her audience will be embarrassed because they believed her.
That gonna be? Wow, huh? How humiliating for you. Let me just pick a couple people out of the chat. How humiliating for Trey Coyawena, right? How humiliating for Steve Brown. Couple of super chatters talking about this. That's humiliating for you, Are you not, humiliated that you don't believe this Pizzagate scandal? That there really are kids in the basement of this store? Back in 2021, says by the end of 2021, John and Anthony Podesta are going to be arrested for this. How humiliating for you, right? You must be so humiliated right now. I can feel your humiliation. I share it.
Yes. What are they gonna do when they find out that they've been so brainwashed and fooled? And how humiliating. How humiliating for.
So humiliating. I am so humiliated personally.
Brainwashed.
And how humiliating. Ooh. How humiliating for these people.
Right.
They're going to be
nose.
Mortified that they were so fooled and they were so dumb and they were so naive. And that's why we need to have compassion for these people, even though.
I am so mortified. Oh my God. So mortified at the fact that I was proven unequivocally wrong. As it turns out, there really was a secret ring, a human trafficking ring in this Comet ping pong place in the basement of it. It doesn't have a basement, And this guy, Anthony Podesta, or John Podesta, or whoever, campaign manager for Hillary Clinton, he really was talking about kids and not pizza. He really wasn't just inviting somebody for a slice, a hot slice. Mortifying that I would think otherwise. Ugh, so embarrassing.
And they were so naive. And that's why we need to have compassion for these people, even though it's going to be tough, because a lot of these people were really awful to us and were really mean to us and mocked us for trying to tell the truth.
I know, those monsters mock people for trying to tell the truth. Awful, huh?
Oh, he was going to go off. May as well let him.
You're awful, okay? You're awful for laughing at this.
So let's talk about what she was saying. The fella is Owen Morgan. The channel is Telltale Fireside Chats, which sprang up from his original channel, which is Telltale. Really, really great channel. Recommend you check him out. Well, let's talk about her. What was her saying there? She was saying, how embarrassed are they going to be? And then they were saying, what should we do? Referring to the MAGA folks, who believe QAnon silliness. What should they do? They said they've got to be forgiving and kind about it. You know what? I agree. Reversing the situation, making it reality. Based on my own mocking of her just then. What did I mock her for? How crazy we would feel, or how not embarrassed we would feel if it turns out she's correct. And the stuff she's saying is correct. Why? Why would we not feel embarrassed? Because for what she is saying to be true, there would have to be a conspiracy. Effort was put in to our ignorance, if that's the case. Well, guess what? Fox News was just demonstrated in court to have lied to its audience of millions about January 6th. Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, he's Fox News, but now he was Fox News. Now he's going to be some independent nonsense. Steven Crowder, Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh. There's an industry built up around tricking these dummies. We should be forgiving. I often say, or at least I hope I say it often, I try to often say that weakness by itself is not a sin. And ultimately, these are industries that prey on a weakness we don't fully understand yet in the United States. We're trying. We're going to have to figure it out. Because since the 1800s, hell, possibly, maybe since the beginning of time, this weakness has been preyed upon. But since the 1800s in particular, and in the United States in particular, this weakness preying upon it has become an industry. And it's what makes some of us think that buildings that don't have basements are conducting child sacrifice rituals in the basement. We don't have to be as embarrassed as they do if it turns out we're wrong. If it turns out we're right, yeah, they have to be a little more embarrassed than us. Because what they were suggesting it was so extraordinary, it demanded more proof. It at least deserved as much proof as the people that disagreed with them had. They should have listened to investigations when those investigations were done at their bizarre insistence. They should be more embarrassed, but not totally, because we should remember that there was a whole industry built around deceiving these people. We need to attack that industry every way we can. In 2024, I recommend our priority be to legislate against that industry. I'll give you a more specific prescription as we go, but we need to first and foremost make sure we have the ability in place to do something about a plan once we have one. That means, as with everything else today, to fix this stuff, we need to be evangelizing ahead of 2024. I shared the timestamp as well with that clip. I recommend showing that to folks. It is going to be an awkward path forward, but we are going to move forward. Because we lived through when America was great. And it wasn't that great. And I'm not interested in making it like that again. Let's see what you guys have to say.